Glad you're all here. My name's Bill Keller, and I'll serve as moderator on behalf of the Election Committee. The other members of the committee are here tonight, too. Other than Ken, we have Paul Giordano, Steve Schlags, William Lang, Ken Edwards, Lynn Fedden, and Chairman Dennis Valkanoff. So, welcome to the HOA Meet the Candidates session. We have people attending both in person here and remotely at the Manor. About 100 there, I believe. The meeting's being recorded for viewing at home, and the link to the recording will be provided after the meeting online. If you haven't done so already, please silence your cell phones so you don't embarrass yourself when your grandkids call. And refrain from talking during the meeting so that everyone will be able to hear the candidates speak. Those you elect will start working with the existing Pulte board and immerse themselves in all aspects of management of the HOA. By the third quarter of this year, we think, the elected board will assume full control. That's when Pulte moves out. Normally, the board has staggered terms, which will be the case in future elections, but due to the timing of this election, we've asked Pulte to amend the bylaws to allow those elected to serve until the first election in November of '27. The new board, once elected, will select 2 individuals from this 5 that you'll be electing. The board will select 2 individuals from within to be on a 2-year term to allow some carryover after the 2027 election. So two of the members will serve through 2028. According to the bylaws, the board selects the officers, president, vice president, secretary, and so on. You won't be voting for that. The board does that internally. The HOA board you elect will consist of 5 individuals. We have 13 candidates to hear from. So one of them is not able to make it. We have 13 candidates to hear from, so our time tonight will be tight as we only have 2 hours. The meeting will flow as follows. Each candidate will self-introduce and provide a brief statement for up to 2 minutes. I'll try to give them a 10-second warning if they get to that point. Then we'll move into questions from you all, from the community, the written questions that have been submitted via Club Express. All the questions submitted online were reviewed by the election committee and were grouped into categories, and we tried to eliminate duplicate questions. Some of the submitted questions were on specific topics to architectural, finance, and landscape, etc. committees. They will not be addressed at the meeting tonight. We're not here to try to hash any of that out. So now let's meet the candidates. I'll call the names for the order of introductions, and to meet the candidates, we're going to go just around the table. After that, we will change the order. So let's get started right away. Candidate number 1, Jack Adelson. Please introduce yourself, provide a brief statement on how your background would be a benefit to the HOA board. You have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you,
Go ahead,
Bill.
Jack.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to come here under the cold conditions in person, as well as those that are watching virtually. I also want to thank the Election Task Force Committee for all their hard work. I know they've invested a lot of hours into this process. I've been a proud resident of Carolina Gardens since May of 2023. I'm a retired CPA who was a shareholder in a Boston area firm. During that time, I worked with many different types of organizations as well as individuals in such areas as financial management, auditing, budgeting, as well as in an advisory and planning capacity. I believe in giving back to the community. Hence, I have served on about 20 boards, committees, and commissions, including the Finance Committee here at Carolina Gardens, and currently as treasurer of a nonprofit organization back home in Massachusetts. If elected, I'll focus on keeping our finances on a sound basis, work for a successful transition to ownership control of our community, maintain our great quality of life, improve communications between the HOA leadership and our owners, and last but not least, be a good team player on the board of directors, which will require everyone to check their egos at the door. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'd be honored to serve this great community.
All right, next candidate, Michelle Bomba. Go ahead,
Good
Michelle.
evening. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I probably could say similar to what Jack just said. I appreciate everyone who has worked on the committee to make this happen. My original career started in human services, and I had started with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a minor in social work. I quickly realized there was a very high burnout rate and transpired into public administration. I had a career in public administration for 20 years, and I have an MPA with a concentration in public sector management. I have been responsible for supervising, onboarding, training, and termination processes of departmental staff for that 20-year period. I am responsible for fiscal adherence to budgets. I have overseen monthly budgeting reporting and an adherence to an annual budget in excess of $1 million. I have drafted performance improvement plans with measurable goals, which I feel is very important when you're on an HOA board to know that you're making progress. I have 20 years in grant writing experience. I'm a certified public housing property manager, and I was previously Massachusetts Governor's appointee for Massachusetts Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. I have also served 10 years on an HOA previously. I hold many volunteer positions in nonprofits and charitable organizations. My main interest and passion is program development, initiation, and performance measurement. I believe those are very important skills in a transition board as we move forward. Thank you.
Next will be Nick. Nick's last name is spelled incorrectly on the card. If you'll pronounce it for us, we'd appreciate that.
So good evening, everybody. I'd like to say a ditto for what Jack and Michelle just said for the introduction. I know we all had planned statements to say. I will say thank you all for coming. I know braving the weather was a big thing, and all the people that are at home. What I really want to add is, though, that I think this is going to make a great voting foundation, since we have so many people that are going to be watching and gathering information. So I think most of you know me. You know my wife. Everybody knows Lisa. So we moved here last year from Pennsylvania. Go Birds. My apologies. And we've lived here for roughly a year and have really passionately embraced this environment, this community, the residents, and this way of life. And I think that that's kind of why I decided to throw my hat in the ring, because I want to keep this beautiful community and make sure it remains a success. And I think that as I spent 36 years in education, so I know most of you know a little bit about teachers and principals. I was a principal for 10 years. I apologize, my application had said 11, typo. 10 years, 26 as a teacher, 10 years as a principal. And I think that during those years, it really fine-tuned me. It gave me strong leadership skills, really good decision-making skills. I'm very comfortable working with diverse perspectives. Our school had over 1,200 children. We had more than 52 languages being spoken, a very large ELL population, so I got to know and work with a lot of different perspectives, and that's something that I'm a good people person. I'm very good at reviewing policies. If anybody knows anything about schools, there's policies out the wazoo, and we have to make sure that we keep them focused. We also have to make sure that we're following them. 10 seconds, okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to promise you that I'm going to be an engaged, a fair, and an approachable board member, and is that me?
That's you.
All right.
Next, Doug Hayes. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thanks, Bill. Likewise to what has already said, thank you for coming. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I truly am appreciative, as I know everybody else is, of your time and efforts here. Again, Doug Hayes. I'm married to Kathy. We've been married 46 years. We live at White Admiral, and we've been in the community a little over 3 years. I am active co-leading with my friend Dave Engler, the Martinis Mixology. I'm in the Wine Club, Garden Club, Veterans Club, Pickleball Club. I'm a retired Army officer with extensive line unit and staff experience. I'm also a retired Erie insurance professional with 23 years of administrative, project management, and leadership experience. You know, why do I want to serve? I love this community. We've sought this community out, and I want it to continue to be vibrant. I want to even make it better. I want to see our property values continue to grow, and I want Carolina Gardens to be a place that's highly sought after, and you know, as some of the other Del Webb communities are. I think it's a great opportunity for us. It's a wonderful place to live. I've got facilitation and presentation skills. I know there's a question on qualifications, so I'm not going to take any more time up with that. But I certainly do appreciate and would appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Doug. Gary, you ready?
All ready.
All right,
I'll keep it short.
go.
It's cold, thanks. I'm Gary Hunt. My wife Monique and I are true halfbacks. We lived in New York for almost 20 years, moved to Florida for 3, and moved here to the most carefully pronounced town in the state, Fuquay-Varina, 4 years ago now. We, as many others have said, we love this community. We sought it out. We looked at a lot of places, but this was a highlight. I'm one of 13 people running for the board here tonight, and looking at the others, they all seem smart enough to know better. But I've spent 30 years as an architect and a construction project manager. I've got a background in high-end residential, big box retail. And my last job was developing greenhouses and production facilities for a medical marijuana company in Florida. I have no samples. My career actually was built on, I like to keep it simple, form follows function approach to everything. I like to break down complex multi-million-dollar problems into small achievable tasks so we don't get overwhelmed. I do speak the language of developers, mayors, tradespeople alike, which is vital when navigating the technical side of property development. Since February, don't hold this against me, I've served as chairman of the Architectural Review Committee, and I'm proud, actually, of how our team has come together working to apply the guidelines and rules, I think, equitably. Whether it's me or Doug or Michelle, who also serve on the ARC, I want to bring that same learned knowledge and experience to the new board. I want to have some continuity as we go forward. So everything that we have achieved and we've learned doesn't
10
get
seconds.
lost. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Maroney. I live with my wife, Jackie, and 2 dogs on Forsythia Trail, otherwise known as the Far East. I have a bachelor's degree in finance from Rochester Institute of Technology, and also earned a diploma with honors from Estonia Graduate School of Banking at Georgetown University. Soon after college, I decided to pursue a career in banking. Started as a financial analyst, and with many years of experience and promotions, was able to achieve my ultimate goal to become president and CEO of a community bank in Rochester, New York. Over my 40-plus years in banking, I've been able to attain a skill set that includes robust budgeting, both short-term and long-term, for a $1.8 billion bank, credibility through communication to board of directors, government regulators, employees, customers, and shareholders, recruiting and retaining top-level executives, made high-stakes decisions over the years, including selling and merging of two banks, and actively served as a member of bank and community board of directors. I feel my leadership experience includes transparency, consistency, and accountability, together with an ongoing social demeanor, including integrity, humility, and respect. If elected, I assure you that these overall skills will benefit the transition of the HOA board at Paulney to a Carolina Gardens member shadow board of directors. I am very involved in the social activities at the Manor. I play euchre on Mondays, billiards on Tuesdays, in which I am vice president of the Billiards Club, Texas Hold'em on Wednesdays. I am a member of the Wine Club, Cornhole Club, and Jackie and I have attended many social events such as the Flannel Fest.
10 seconds.
We also performed in the lip sync battle at Sonny and Cher. My ultimate goal is to serve as an active board member of the Carolina Gardens HOA with the intention to provide our community with significant involvement and support on my part with a positive, friendly, and approachable demeanor at all times.
That's it, Kevin. Thank you. Next, Stuart Ramsey. Stuart, go ahead when you're ready.
I'm not sure if, oh, there it is, it's on. Hi, I'm Stuart Ramsey. My wife and I moved here from Sun City, Arizona at the original Del Webb community that started in 1960. So we've been here since July 1st. I will tell you, they had a voluntary HOA. So you did not have to be a member of the HOA. The HOA actually still had to enforce the rules, but you didn't have to actually be a member. It's much better to have a much more organized HOA. So that's one of the reasons I'm here, is to hopefully be a part of that process. My background is financial, accounting, CPA for several years, and then I went on to work as CFO in manufacturing. And I don't know if they set us here on purpose, but I was the CEO of credit unions for about 18 years. So I have a lot of background in finance and leadership. During all those years, I also served on about 12 different boards, nonprofits and association boards, and was involved with organizing 2 of those nonprofits from scratch. So I'm very familiar with the development process of boards, and I think that would be a very useful tool as we work through the transition from a new board. So I appreciate your consideration, and I appreciate you coming out and spending the evening with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Elliot, you ready, Elliot? Go.
Good evening, everyone who's here in person and on live stream. My name is Elliot Sussels. My wife, Lisa Kurlansik, and I live on Large Court. We here for 2 years, moved here from Washington, D.C., and some of you may know me as Barney's dad, who is our wonderful Bernedoodle. I'm trained as an economist. I was a senior vice president of a major national consulting firm where I was national practice leader for public sector compensation. Currently, I run my own consulting business, continuing to work with government clients, so I have a great deal of experience in interfacing with government officials and understanding how entities such as homeowners associations operate within the context of the local community. I have served on multiple condo and homeowners association boards. In one case, I was treasurer, but in multiple cases, I was involved in the transition from the developer to the board run by the owners of the development. And I can tell you that that transition, at least in my experience, has not been easy, that the interests of the developer and the interests of the community frequently are divergent, that a strong board at assumption of our roles requires some hard-headed negotiations with the developer to ensure that we inherit a community where the facilities are up to code, are well taken care of, that the finances upon assumption are in proper working order, that there's been appropriate audits, that there have been reviews in terms of engineering and in terms of safety of the facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. David Ongaro, are you ready? Go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm David Ongaro. My wife, Julie, and I, who's in the front row, have been in the neighborhood since 2021. I've been in North Carolina over 30 years, and I love it here. North Carolina is my home. I've been here more than half of my life, and I can't imagine being anywhere else, especially this community. We both love it here. So this is a really critical year for us. Establishing this board is going to be probably the biggest decision we make in the next probably 3 years. And doing this right is really, really important. It's going to be a lot of hard work. And I'm really amazed at the crew of people we have here and the caliber of people that, that are here to stand up and volunteer for this. Whatever decision is made, I think we are going to be in really good hands. And I feel really good about that. So that's great. I've been an executive in consulting and software companies for about 30 years. I've been managing giant outsourcing and consulting organizations, doing negotiations, customer management, vendor management, giant, very large contract negotiations, and managing large teams. So I think having that sort of business experience, which many people have on the stage, is going to be very important to us. And I think, you know, that's going to be really, really good for us. I've got 20 seconds. My wife and I live here full time, so we'll be here, you know, for the foreseeable future. And we do have the one dog that many people have seen, my wife, walking around. So thanks for the time. Thanks for being here, and good luck for everyone. I think we're going to be in good hands.
Thank you, David. Steve Williams, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, step up.
I don't have a dog, though. Good evening. My name's Steve Williams. My wife, Donna, and I have lived in the community since April of 2024. I am presently the chair of the Landscape Committee, which I feel does a great job, and there's great things to come. My background, I have 48 years of management experience in the retail industry, from running a local grocery store to managing on a national level. I've got an extensive management background dealing with vendors, employees, budgets, strategic planning, P&Ls, training and development, which I feel is probably the most important thing. Training employees is crucial to the success of any business. I've been a buyer, dealt with HR issues, of course, inventory controls, developing programs, and developing product selection in those stores. Goal and results oriented. Again, I believe in training and developing people, problem solving, and of course, I've had P&L responsibilities. I've traveled the country extensively. Lastly, I worked for a DoD contractor. I managed 14 states from Texas to the East Coast. I've also owned 3 businesses of my own, rental business, a construction business, and a seafood wholesale business. My wife, Donna, had a daycare for 23 years. She's a local. She grew up in Teachie, was born and raised in Teachie, North Carolina. I was born in upstate New York.
10 seconds.
Grew up in upstate New York, and fortunately, I came to North Carolina when I was 15 years old. The reason that I want to run is I think this is the best place we've ever lived, and I want to make sure it stays that way.
Thanks, Steve. Next, we have Mark Wilson. Some know him as Pickleball Mark. And go ahead, Mark.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is fun. I have to tell you that I've got some rental properties in the area, and I've been involved with about 4 different HOAs. And unlike this one, you have to beg people to join, to be on the board. So I'm just delighted to see that we have this much participation. I think that's reflective of the kind of interest that we have, and maybe we have a little more time on our hands than we used to. But anyway, I come from, I think, some background that might be relevant. I've served on, along with Jack and JJ, on the Finance Committee for over the last year, and really got a great insight into kind of the operations of the community, working with Allison and Associa and the organization that they have, and I think that brings a lot. We worked on the budget. I think we have a pretty good understanding of where we are financially, and I would say that we're in pretty good shape. And so I think going into the transition and the new year, I feel very good about kind of where we are in that regard. I've been here about 3 years. I came all the way from Apex, so we traveled a long way to get here. And I've been in the area since 1980, so it's been a long time in North Carolina. But prior to my retirement, I spent about 7 years in the senior living community development area. I was, for those of you that know Apex at all, I was the executive director for Cambridge Village Senior Living, which was started about 2009. And then I went on into Wilmington, and we built another facility there. These were independent retirement communities. And I think that experience,
10 seconds.
Working with kind of no understanding the workings and having budgetary responsibilities really helps in being able to know kind of what's going to go on and be able to handle all of these operations. But I think you got a good opportunity to choose between a lot of good people. So I think everybody's in good shape.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Paul, you all ready?
Ricardo.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I think we're going to have a great board. I could see that. In fact, I was hoping that 3 people would show up tonight for the board because I'm going to vote for them. I knew that. I was hoping they'd be, on the board coming down. But my background is I've been here since August 10th. This year will be 3 years from New York, Long Beach, Long Island, New York. And I followed the kids, and the rest is history. But my background in business was a small business owner all my life. And the last business is alcohol, beverage, wine, liquor. And the board I was on in that industry, I was in for 20 years, and that was just to protect, to fight to protect the alcohol beverage industry for retailers, which I should be voted for just for that. But I don't think that's as helpful as the board I was on for 20 years in Long Beach in that building, because it was a co-op, and co-ops are very similar to HOAs. And the board dynamic I was very good at, and we had a good balance, and I see that hopefully that'll happen here, where there was a financial guy that was really good, and there was a guy that knew structure because he was an engineer, and that was really helpful. And we had such a great balance, and we became very close because of that balance. And when egos got in the way and the loudest person is right, we toned them down, and egos were aside, and we had a really, really healthy board. And I'm really good at doing that. I'm really good at winding situations down like that from my experience in business. My non-payment
10 seconds.
volunteer job is helping coach small business people around the world. I do that on Zoom. I have 25 people that I work with, and it's just that I just have a knack for fixing problems. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. All right, round 1 complete. Now that we've heard the introductions from the candidates, we'll ask some of the questions that were submitted via Club Express. The committee provided the candidates with 8 of the questions. We've had a few others come in as of late, but they'll all be posted. And between now and the 29th, the candidates can answer those questions online. You can review their answers to all the questions. Any questions not addressed or answered tonight will also be posted on the HOA election page by the 29th. All right, we'll now ask candidates in a randomly selected order some of these questions, and the answers this time will be limited to 1.5 minutes or 90 seconds. So we're going to start with Michelle. Now let's see, which one is that? Oh. Right, we'll start with the question. Would you like to hear the question? Yes, please. Okay. Strategic vision. Leadership requires a forward-looking mindset. how will you define the community's 5-year vision? And more importantly, what specific metrics will you use to track that progress?
Thank you. Yes. The most important thing in developing a 5-year vision is to first take a look at where you are and looking at the journey of where you want to be and what that final goal is at the end. I think those are things we need to work out as a board together with a lot of input from the community. I believe we need to review current systems, what is in place and what works and what doesn't. Contracts, finances, and services. Many of the things I have been involved in or have knowledge of from my work on the art committee, but there are certainly a lot I know that I need to learn. The goal is to always improve services, physical property, and public engagement. I think those are very, very important so that we all have a buy-in to the community that we call home. Establish increased opportunities for homeowner engagement. Explore other Del Webb communities for improvements, issues, and solutions for long-term. On the art committee, we have had the opportunity to meet with board members from Carolina Arbors, and they have given us a lot of insight into the transition process they went through. I do believe to track the progress, monthly HOA board meetings will be very effective in reviewing so that we are in short-term, reeling in any opportunities, obviously issues we have, before they transpire into a larger problem. Soliciting committee input and quarterly reports, I feel, is very important so that each committee is on the same page as to what they are doing. There is no overlap of delegation. Annual review of year 1 plan accomplishments while modifying upcoming year if necessary to meet objectives, and doing that by fiscal calendar year.
Well, time's up.
Thank you.
All right, next, next we will ask Kevin Maroney to answer the question. Would you like me to repeat the question, Kevin, or the 5-year vision?
Yes, please.
Okay. Strategic vision. Leadership requires a forward-looking mindset. How will you define the community's 5-year vision? And more importantly, what specific metrics would you use to track that progress? 1.5 minutes.
The forward-looking mindset of leadership will require the board to express a clear and durable vision for the community's 5-year vision, and then translate that vision into objective, measurable indicators that can be monitored on a more specific time frame. The vision and plan will cover the physical environment, including the well-maintained common areas, financial health, including the stable assessments and fully funded reserves, safety and security, having residents feel safe and informed, community experience, including clear communication, and lastly, government excellence, including professional ethic, decision-making, and compliance with documents. Next, we will need to define and adapt the performance key indicators. Physical environment metrics include percentage of preventative maintenance completed compared to that was scheduled within the time frame. Financial metrics including reserves and budget variances. Safety and risk metrics including the number of report incidents and time it takes to resolve safety issues. Community excellence, which includes the resident satisfaction surveys, and governance excellence metrics.
10 seconds.
Including board meeting attendance, quorum reliability, and time of completion of strategic initiatives.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay. Next will be David Ongaro. David, would you like the question reread, or are you okay with it?
I'm okay, Bill, if you are.
Okay.
I do like your voice, though, so if you're willing to do it, you can.
So you'd like the question reread?
Sure.
My pleasure. Strategic vision. Leadership requires a forward-looking mindset. How will you define the community's 5-year vision? And more importantly, what specific metrics will you use to track progress?
So I think our 5-year vision should focus on things like financial stability, well-maintained infrastructure, and an engaged community. But to achieve that, we need accountability. So we do need clear metrics to measure. Things like reserve fund percentage funded, or operating budget variances, dues trend versus inflation, capital project completion rates, member satisfaction scores. I'm a data-driven leader, and that is how we can hold ourselves accountable and hold the members transparent to what we're doing. We should review these very frequently as a board, and we should review them with the members so that everyone knows what we're doing. And then we should review these metrics over time, and we should add more that are important for the members. I think it's important that we look at this in a data-driven way, and that we're very, very clear and transparent to the members what the HOA is doing and the achievements that we're making. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, team.
Thank you, David. Next, we will have Mr. Gary Hunt. Would you like the question again, or? No. Okay, you got it. Five-year vision.
Okay, we should think of the turnover at this time of the community, like doing the final walkthrough. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Like doing the final walkthrough when you bought your house. We have to audit the condition of our property, physical and intellectual, to determine what items are open for the developer to finish or correct before the final turnover. We'll need to hire an accountant, an attorney, an engineer, architect for their expertise to help us find out what we don't know. We also need to investigate the efficacy of the current management company, their personnel, and the operations systems of the community. We have to determine if the service we're getting from our outside contractors holds with our expectations and the money we spend on them. This will give us a baseline to determine areas that we need to concentrate on immediately and those that we need to plan for in the future. We'll measure our successes against the livability and quality standards that we set for the community. We moved here with certain expectations, and while some of us may have differing opinions, I think we can all agree that we all want to maintain the community to look and perform the best possible.
All right, Gary, thank you. Next, we will go to Elliot Sussels. Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you. Thanks very much. As an economist, I spend my life dealing with data and analyzing data. And to that end, in terms of a 5-year vision for the Homeowners Association, I think there are 3 major factors that we need to consider. One is our financial stability, the proactive maintenance of the HOA facilities, and to provide age-appropriate activities to engage as much of the community as possible. It's quite noticeable tonight, the engagement of the community at these meetings, and it's real important that we continue that in terms of understanding what's important to the community, what are we doing right, what do we need to improve, and what are we doing wrong. It's important to have performance metrics to understand how well we are doing and to understand the overall level of satisfaction that the community has with what the board is hopefully going to accomplish over the next term. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Jack, you ready? I'm ready. Okay, go.
All right. I broke this down into 6 broad-based parts. 1, establish an onboarding process for the new board of directors. 2, oversee a successful transition to the owner-controlled HOA, continue to build a successful, financially stable community. 3, ensure there are sound fiscal policies, including budgeting and spend analysis, to make sure residents are getting value for what they are paying. 4, continue to support the lifestyle department in providing good, viable programs that successfully engage the community. 5, ensure the community is maintained to a high standard with funding from the owners. And 6, make sure there is a good consensus on the rules and regulations people believe make a good community. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jack.
Did I leave some extra time for you?
Let's go down to, what was that? I didn't hear it.
Did I give you some extra time?
Yes, you did. And we might even take questions from the audience if we get done a little early. How do you like that? All right, let's move to Doug Hayes. Would you like a reread of the question, the
Nope,
five-year
Bill,
vision?
I'm good to go.
Thank you for that.
So I really appreciate how you kind of laid the framework for the 5-year strategy, Michelle. I took a little different perspective, strategic visions. So I came up with it. Again, this is me sitting down. Strategic visions are built with consensus, and so take this with a grain of salt. But I see a vision statement. Carolina Gardens will continue to be a vibrant, active lifestyle community with meticulously maintained homes and facilities. Property value increases exceed local norms, and the community continues to thrive. The HOA maintains sufficient operational and reserve capital to address all planned updates and emergencies. So how do I look at a couple of phases of that. I'd see year 0 to 2 as kind of a transition phase where we're initially reviewing all contracts, obligation, historical artifacts, and execute the declarant board turnover, which we've already talked about. And I really appreciate, Elliot, some of the things you had indicated or how important that really is. Also in that transition 2 years, establish new board operations and operational tempo. Integrate the ARC and landscape committees. They're functioning, but they're not really an integrated operation. Identify additional charter, identify and charter additional committees like technology, communication, safety, master program, increase board transparency and communication. That's got to be a key. Year 2 to
10
3.5, build, collaborate, integrate, committees grow and expand their reach. And then 4 and 5, the community, we execute the rest of our plan and the community thrives.
All right. Thank you, Doug. How about Stu Ramsey?
From all sides. All right.
Time's up.
Well, I took a little bit different approach to this one. In my view, it's really not the vision of the 5 members of the board, but the vision of our community. So I would be, my first step would be to put a request or recommend a 5-year or a long-range planning committee of the members be put together to help us formulate what the vision is for the future of our HOA and our community. There's a lot of really good points, and we need to be financially strong. We need a lot of good input as we transition, but I think having that member input will help us create a really good vision long term. And I definitely need to look at metrics. Some of the ones I wrote down were member satisfaction, so doing surveys to make sure our members are satisfied with what's happening. Property values, I think one of the most important jobs of our HOA is to make sure we keep our property values strong going forward to make sure we have a very vibrant community. And then member engagement, how involved are our members in all the activities? We are an active adult community, and so I think it's really key that we're measuring are people actually involved and engaged in the activities that are being presented. So that would be my vision, is to really focus on what the members are looking for. Thank you.
Thanks, Stu. Well, since we're down there, how about Paul?
Okay. I like the 5-year idea because I like to move slow and steady, and maybe the first year we get our feet wet a little bit, but ultimately I think transparency is one of the most important things for the plan, for our vision, and we share that vision with the owners. I've been hearing a lot about that since I got here. And as we come up with ideas, every idea I think could have a dollar value right away, and we educate each other on how much something costs. So if somebody suggests they want to build a moat around the Carolina Gardens, well, they have to be heard. And then we could attach a dollar value to that very, very quickly. And without an estimate, using AI, just so they know approximately what that would cost. And maybe some of the financial guys can come up with an algorithm, what that translate into a monthly payment, the change in a monthly payment up the road. Of course, everything that we do is going to have a value, and that's where we have to be really, really careful in the future. Is I don't think people don't like increases, and people really, really don't like assessments. And then we don't use that word around here, but in Long Beach we had Superstorm Sandy. We had no assessment. Of course, we knew how to handle our money, and we didn't tap into it for needless expenses. So we came up with the cash.
10 seconds.
So lastly on that, I think that if we come up with a way to educate ourselves and educate the owners on how work translates to a figure, you know,
Okay,
and
thanks,
that'll be
Paul.
helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. Since we're already down there, let's go with Steve Williams.
Two of them. I think our 5-year vision should be the health and growth of our community, and we need to monitor that by monitoring the social activity, ensuring that we have engagement in all our social activities, our economics, making sure we have stable financial status, our maintenance costs, which what are we spending it on? Are we on track with our reserve study? Communication, understanding the needs of the community and sharing our thoughts and our ideas. Community health and welfare programs, exercise, dance, activities, encouraging exercise of both the body and mind. Public programs and transportation, involvement in the town, interaction with police and emergency services, and including public programs and safety education. Improving our technology training, computer and tech training for some of us. And I think all of these ensure a vibrant atmosphere and support an active lifestyle, all measured through our community satisfaction and financial stability.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Well, let's come down to this end of the table to Mr. Nick Cerulli.
So is it on? Yep, it's on. My colleagues pretty much hit on everything, but I'm going to see if I can add a couple things. That transition period that we're going to be going through, I think it's a time where we really have to listen and learn and stabilize a strong foundation, which we're going to grow upon through understanding all the current systems that are in place, all the contracts that we have, all the finances, and all the long-term obligations. While that's going on, what's important, because this is going to be a collaborative 5-year vision that's resident-driven. It's not going to be the board saying, here's the plan, what do you think? It's going to be us working collaboratively. So while that's going on, I think we're going to have resident input through surveys, forums, committees, things like that. And that way, now we're focusing. And I'm looking at 3 things that we're focusing on: protecting our property values, maintaining financial stability, which will include necessary reserves, and then fostering a well-informed and engaged community. I also know that my colleagues hit on a lot of metrics. I'm not sure if I heard this or not, and I know it's like we don't want to hear it, but predictable and justified dues increases. We are going to have increases, but if you notice, I said the words predictable. We know it's coming because we just paid $1 million for the HVAC system, which we know is going to be a problem, and the pool heater. So you know it's going to be justified, it's going to be predictable. A reserve audit, and actually more than one. Even a study with that. And then maintenance response times and
10
homeowners
seconds.
requests. And are we seeing fewer repeats and less unresolved issues? That would be something that's telling us that we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Nick. And now, last but not least, Mr. Mark Wilson.
To be the last guy on board, you remember what he said. I think we are really in a great position in terms of my 5-year plan would be to have it exactly like it is today 5 years from now. And I think to do that, we need to be able to obviously be able to maintain the kind of budget that is going to allow us to fund the kind of level of service that we've been enjoying, and maybe we'll expand it. But on the flip side of that, the other thing we really have to look at is nobody wants dues to go up. So our HOA dues balanced against the maintenance and maintaining the cost, I think, are my priorities. The other thing that I would just suggest that maybe has been mentioned a little bit is I think we don't live in a bubble. And I think being more involved in what's going on in Fuquay Arena, I know having lived in Apex for 10 years and seeing that growth, we're going to experience it here. And I think that as a community, we have a responsibility to be involved in sort of what's going on, at least have a seat at the table or an ear. And so my recommendation would be to at least have one board member attend each city council meeting to be able to report back and be able to determine where we might be involved or what's going on. So that's sort of
10
my
seconds.
strategic vision.
Thank you, Mark. All right, well, that concludes the first round of questions. We will now go to the second one. Improving board communication. Many members have voiced frustration over the Pulte Board's limited communication. How would you address this to foster greater transparency and engagement with the community? And we will start with Nick.
Thank you. So I'm looking at that shadow transition period as an opportunity for us to establish clear and consistent communication practices, so that once the homeowners take control, we have set an example. I think one of the first things we have to do, though, is you always want to acknowledge this frustration. Yes, it is a frustrating process when you send an email in and it takes you 2 weeks to get a response. So that we have to work on. We have to build communication habits that are going to be improved upon. We want to see transparency increase, not decrease during the shadow period and once we take control. We need to understand existing processes and constraints and adjust them as needed. So when something is not working, the saying about if it's not fixed, leave it alone. Well, when it is broken, we do need to fix something. So we want clear, consistent, predictable updates. We want to keep the regular written communication, whether it's through the forum, whether it's through Town Square, but we need to have more regular communication. Whenever we have any kind of a meeting, there should be a clear agenda, and then there should be clear meeting notes or summaries presented. A centralized online information hub, which we kind of have with Town Square and the forum, but I don't know, look into, is there anything better out there?
10 seconds.
Two-way communication. It's a two-way street, and along with that, I think what's really important is that we have to establish some sort of agreed-upon timing. Like when I was a principal, I gave teachers, myself, everybody 24 to 48 hours to respond back. We need something like
Time's
that.
up.
We need to have.
All right, next, let's go to Mr. Stu Ramsey, Improving Board Communication. Stu, when you're ready.
I share a lot of the similar things. I was out on Town Square today trying to communicate, and I find it a very difficult process to go through. I think and obviously there are other tools as well, and as we've learned, Town Square is supposed to be kind of our key one, but let's get one. Let's have one really good, effective communication tool that's easy to use and effective. I think the other thing that would be really important is for the board to have town hall meetings, if you want to call that, or listening sessions, maybe quarterly or every 6 months. Just an opportunity for the board to sit in front of our members and let the members raise their concerns and review their conversations. Obviously, we can't fix everything for each individual person. We have to look at the best interests of the entire community. But if we're not listening and we're not taking the opportunity to hear what's going on, we can't be effective. So those would be the key things I would be looking for.
Thank you, Stu. Well, Elliot's right there. Let's go to Elliot. Improving Board Communications, Elliot.
Thank you very much. I think that the community deserves improved communication, not just from the board, but from management as well. I think many of us have frustrations in terms of issues that we have raised and feel like it's gone into the abyss. Too often, communication goes unanswered, and when it is answered, responses aren't timely or necessarily credible. I think there should be monthly communication regarding board actions, the financial state of the community, and future plans. We should regularly survey the community regarding the level of satisfaction with services offered and any suggestions for improvements in new services. I also think that the concept, and I'm putting this in quotation marks, of street captains who gather homeowners' concerns and serve as a conduit to the board might be helpful in gathering the interests of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gary Hunt, Improving Board Communication.
The communication we've had so far, and I'll speak from the ARC's perspective, kind of spotty. And we have to vet everything through management before it gets sent out. And many times their critiques have been viable and have helped us out. Sometimes, when we do get our own board, we need to communicate with whatever committees that we set up. through the board. My biggest concern is that we post communication willy-nilly and scattered and rapid fire, which is going to become overwhelming and could contain private, sensitive, proprietary information. Too much communication, over-communication in a bad way is just as bad as no communication. So having the board set up with sensitivities to know that the community needs to understand and be communicated with properly is, for me, is key.
Okay, thank you. And next, we will hear from Mr. David Ongaro.
Thanks, Bill.
Improving board communication.
Thanks. So the frustration with the Pulte board, I think, for communication is understandable. Many of us experienced it, and I think we need to make it an immediate priority to fix the feeling of that communication. We need like a cultural shift in how we're operating. Our members shouldn't learn about major decisions after the fact. We should share information, we should invite frequent input, and we should explain any reasonings for decisions. I think we should have multiple feedback channels in a controlled way. I really agree to that, and I think that's important. But we have to demonstrate that we're listening and that we report how that input influenced our decisions. You know, communication isn't just talking, right? It's creating genuine dialogue, right? We have to have a dialogue between members, and people need to be heard and informed and understood, whatever the decision is. We need to treat each other as adults, and we don't need to have, you know, a poor communication process. I think we just need to be respectful to each other. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, David. Next, we'll stay down that end with Paul. Improving board communication.
I had to send minutes out to the owners after each meeting. They had to get, I'm pretty sure that was a New York State law at the time, so that they got to know if they choose to read it, they read it. If they didn't choose to read it, they didn't read it. So a lot of people weren't as engaged as, you know, we think that everybody's going to be engaged, but they had the opportunity. We're still going to have a management company. That's going to be a big part of Carolina Gardens. So I kind of think that they should come to one of them should come to a board meeting. Every time we have a board meeting, they should be part of that process. But otherwise, it's just everybody having a voice and us responding, you know. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Kevin, are you ready? Wait a minute. Yes, there you go. Kevin, you got your microphone? Okay. There you go, when you're ready.
I would encourage transparent communication by the HOA to homeowners in a clear, consistent, and timely manner. I feel that's the most effective tool with the new HOA board. To accomplish this, the HOA will need to schedule public meetings, publish meeting agendas and minutes from meetings, standardized communication channels, possibly including an HOA website or a periodic newsletter with written notice for actions and community updates. However, these actions must be approved by the new board with a considerable expectation setting and issue transparency without overexposure. Consistent, understandable communication will produce a respectful board culture acting in the best interest of homeowners at all times.
Thank you. Michelle Bamba, improving board communication.
I want to start with there is no failure in not knowing, not having an answer. It starts with that process, and then finding out the answer is most important and reporting back in a timely manner. I think many of us can agree that that is something that has been lacking presently. Verbal decisions. That should not be how a business operates. Every decision should be in writing. Lack of full transparency with board processes, meeting minutes, full budget, actual disclosure. I can speak from my time on the ARC committee over the past year that we have confronted a lot of these issues. I firmly believe that every agenda should be posted for public knowledge along with minutes. Quarterly homeowner surveys on satisfaction of services, activity provisions, and suggestions. All requests should be placed in Town Square, if that is our software at the time, so that there is a ticket number created with every email. And that way, it can never be a question of if your email was received. Emails and phone calls are frequently not returned, and that is a pet peeve of mine in my entire career. I do not believe that is the way to conduct business. I assure you that in this process, I will always respond whether I know the answer or not.
Thank you, Michelle. How about Jack, since the microphone's already here?
Great. I broke this one down from 6 parts only to 4 parts. A lot of it's been covered because that's what happens when you speak near the end. But one would be to distribute minutes immediately after the board, as soon as they're ready, immediately after the board of directors meetings, including posting them on a Club Express. I suggest having 3 open board meetings a year for residents to participate in and provide feedback. We should be enhancing our monthly financial updates so people are more aware of what's being spent in different areas. That would be, at a minimum, that would include a report with current month's actual, year-to-date budget, and over-under budget year-to-date, and finally, seek advice from other HOAs and outside consultants with experience in communications to see if there's anything else we could be doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Williams, improving board communication.
First of all, I think transparency is a must. There's no other way about it. Communication to the community, holding management accountable and responsible. I think we need to develop a better communication system using committees, meetings, newsletters, improving our forums and websites, make them a lot more user-friendly than what they are now. I think the board of directors must listen to the community and make the best decisions that they can for the community. They must be able to explain those decisions. I don't think we get those answers now, and we haven't. Pulte's not done a good job of that, and that's for the obvious reasons. That shouldn't happen with a resident-run board of directors. It's just not beneficial to anybody. Associa is just one option for management, and they will have to be transparent and responsive.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Doug Hayes, improving board communication.
Thanks, Bill. First, David, something you said really resonated with me about needing a cultural shift, and I could not agree with you more on that. And thank you for Jack and Michelle for laying out some specifics about improving communications. I've got a couple other things to add. Board meetings should be posted within 5 working days. We need metrics. We need to be accountable for that. I would like to see or would propose semi-annual town hall meetings, perhaps more frequently, but semi-annual seems to be a reasonable approach to start with. I would look and like to see quarterly board infographics or a newsletter generated by the board that kind of updates the community on everything that has happened and what's actually upcoming. That's all the specifics I have. There's some great ideas suggested, but I understand we on the ARC committee have very much lived that frustration that you all have as homeowners.
Thank you, Doug. Mark, I think you're the only one left.
Okay, I love being last.
Okay, you're up.
So, I think we're all in harmony about the fact that we need more transparency, so I won't go into that. I have a couple specific ideas that maybe we'd run by. I like the idea of a suggestion box, maybe at the reception desk. and I think that some suggestions or complaints or whatever we're going to put in there need to go directly to a specific board member. And I think one of the organization things that I would think, because it's always, who do you contact? Who's your point of contact for these different things? And I know I don't want to get a bunch of phone calls on things that maybe I'm not involved with. So I would suggest that the 5 members kind of divvy up areas of responsibility regarding, types of things that they might deal with as far as suggestions and complaints, and make them accountable for getting back to that particular person, and that you know who it is that you would be able to contact for a specific area of concern. So that's just one suggestion.
Okay, thank you. I believe that's everybody for that question. I didn't miss anybody, did I? Okay. Next question we have has to do with the Pulte handover. What are the top 2 to 3 items that you would insist Pulte addresses or completes before the official turnover to ensure the board isn't inheriting avoidable problems? Why don't we start with Mr. Gary Hunt?
We have to get that audit done of the physical and the intellectual properties that we have. That's key. We are going to be handed a bag of something, and we need to know what's in that bag and how we're going to have to deal with it. I know we have $20,000 allotted to hire outside consultants. I'm not sure that's enough. It may be. I may be seeing, Monique's favorite expression, I may be seeing bears on the road. But I'm not, I want to be 100% certain that when we take over, we don't have 5 days after we've signed the paper, a multi-$1,000 exposure that we don't know anything about. Getting that baseline of where we're going to receive the property is vital, so our eyes are open going into the next 5 years.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. Paul, how about your comment on the Pulte handover?
The liens, if there's any liens or any of those kind of financial things, I think an attorney will pick up. But if there's any equipment issues that are like in the middle of being repaired, or there's a warranty issue that hasn't been fixed properly yet, but they know about it, that kind of stuff would be really, really important, because that could go right onto your lap. I don't think liens and all that are as much of an issue as the stuff that it's not even, it's neglect, and it's not legal, but we have to look at that.
Thank you, Paul. Jack, how about your comments? The Pulte handover.
Thank you. Just as a starting point, I do want to emphasize that the $20,000 in the budget for professionals, that was intended as a starting point only. We will engage a professional engineer and attorney to determine what we're entitled to negotiate for compensation from Pulte. A couple of things I can think off the top of my head are things like pond repairs, pool and spa heaters, the condition of the streets, sidewalks, and walking paths, maybe a second bocce court if we're lucky, and I'm sure there'll be others. We know Pulte has legal protections that limit what they are required to provide in negotiation. But we're confident that based on the facts and documentation provided by our outside professionals, they will compensate us fairly, as was the case with several other HOAs we've spoken with. As in all cases, the discussions must be conducted in a very professional, non-emotional manner to gain the best results. And if you want to read the Bible, how that works, there's a book called Getting to Yes. It's the Bible for negotiations. I'm very familiar with it. It's about 200 pages, give or take.
10 seconds.
And I think anybody involved in the negotiations should read that before we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Steve, how about your comments on the Pulte handover?
First of all, we have to have an engineering study and evaluation, which we have budgeted for. One of our sister communities actually put a task force together of residents who actually walked every inch of the community and wrote down every single thing that they could find wrong, whether it was in the culverts or the sidewalks or the walls, whatever it might be, in addition to what the engineers found. That was all negotiated with Pulte, and they came to a financial compensation package. And that certainly helped a lot. That's something that we should consider. There's a punch list to be completed that's not been done at the manor. We still have issues. We had a roof leak. We have some mold on the walls. We have to make sure things like that do not exist when we have this changeover. The town has a final inspection. We have to make sure that we know what's in that inspection and that gets handled before we have the handover. We have a lot of erosion issues right now. We have issues on the greenway. Before the town takes that, all that has to be repaired, and we need to make sure that we're well aware of what all those issues are before we sign on the dotted line.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Doug Hayes, your comments on the Pulte handover.
First, Steve, that was an excellent idea by that task force. That's something that I think we all can agree would be really valuable, so thank you for that input. Number one priority for this new board is we've got to execute the due diligence in this turnover, and everybody's talked about the importance of that and what those components are, so absolutely number one priority. For me, a couple of things that as I've talked to folks in the community, and there's a lot of frustration, understanding this pool issue. I don't know. Were specs wrong to begin with? Was it not the right equipment put in? I don't know. We just need answers on that. Seems like it's a really murky and dark area. Concerns about the retaining walls from trees and that potential. I've heard people talk about that. And Steve, as you mentioned, the amenity center punch list is the third item that would be of greatest concern to me.
Thank you, Doug. Well, Nick, let's go with you. You got the microphone right in your hand. Let's go.
All right, so I'm looking at 3 items: financial clarity, infrastructure readiness, and then complete documentation. So, and a lot of this has already been said, but bear with me. Financial clarity, we need all the financial records presented to us. We need a current reserve study, and then all past contracts, present contracts, and future contracts that are in the works, and any outstanding obligations. Infrastructure readiness, the condition of all the common areas, all the amenities, and all the systems that function throughout this community. We need to know what warranties do we still have that are existing, can any be extended, things like that. Maintenance schedules, most importantly, disclosures. You know, you buy a house, you got to disclose, the seller has to disclose. We need to have things like that, and then that outstanding punch list, we have to have that completed. And then complete documentation, it's just basically all the governing documents, all the rules, policies, all the enforcements, et cetera, records that involve any of that. We want all the vendor records, past vendors, present vendors, and vendors that are on the list for maybe future business. And then what I think is important is that we want to have a clear transition plan with Associa so that we have this continuity, and we don't have to worry about that maybe during this first transition year kind of a thing, but we have something in place that is functioning right now.
10 seconds.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Mark Wilson, you're up.
Okay, well, I'm like Jack. I think that one of the benefits that having been on the Finance Committee is that we've already started to look at some of these issues, and I feel like that, you know, we are in pretty good shape. I think Pulte really does have an incentive to make sure they leave this community in good shape. I mean, they're building communities all over the area, and they want us to be happy and not be angry referrals. So I think that we have that going for us. I think I agree with everybody in terms of doing the due diligence, and I think we're set up to do that with some of the, it's kind of the things we don't know that are important. and don't even know the questions to ask. So I think that's why we need the professionals to come in with the and be able to help us with that. But I think that everybody is of the right mind, and I think we'll identify those things that are legitimate that we need to be resolved or financially adjusted. And I think we'll get through this in good shape.
Thank you, Mark. Michelle Bamba, the Pulte handover.
I will probably be repeating most of what everyone else has said, especially Nick. I think we wrote ours together. Amenity center punch list, especially with the ongoing issues with the pool heater, was one of my first thoughts, with all remaining mechanical warranties. I think that is something that we're not privy to, what we have warranties on, what are remaining, and what has expired. All development plans, federal, state, and town agreements, and commitments showing completion by Pulte. Access to all monthly board meeting minutes since board inception. We have no idea what has been discussed in those board meetings. All financials, annual budgets, expenditures with supporting documentation. All vendor contracts inclusive of terms, performance reviews, correspondence, and alternative quotes that have been obtained in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Mr. David Ongaro.
Can I just say ditto or save everybody a minute? No. I mean, everything is really good, right? Physical plant, warranties. I would like to, I'm interested in things like, did we miss maintenance on some large system, right? Is Pulte, were they on the cheap and didn't do the maintenance that they should have? And now we're driving a used car that the wheels are about to fall off, or are we in really good shape? I think it's great that we have some members from the financial committee that have insight, and I think that's going to be helpful. I think, Michelle, you said on something really important that I had in my notes that outside of physical plant, I want to know what the board did. I want to know what meetings they had. I want to know what decisions they made. I want to know how they made their decisions. I want to know how the contracts were bidded and awarded. Right? I want to know the business processes that are run before we came here and took the board over. There's a lot of risk there when you do a merger acquisition type thing, which is basically what we're doing. And this is our due diligence period to accept the merger or the acquisition. We can do it once, and we should do it well. We've got some people who really know about the physical plant, the engineering. I think we should rely on our members that have that knowledge as well, but we should not
10 seconds.
Forget the business side of the equation that we all really need to be focusing on as well. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Mr. Kevin Maroney.
I feel we should look at hiring looking at hiring a firm to come in and do an independent, to do an analysis on the buildings, the common areas, et cetera, throughout to make sure that we don't see a problem that actually has occurred. And a few of the areas that I see we have a problem with: landscaping around the water ponds, retention ponds, repair and replace some of the sidewalks, repair the ceiling, and add blinds on the windows in the varsity room. Just a few of the issues that I see right now that we need to get done.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, Stu, you're right there, so you're up.
As we said, a lot of repeat information. The key ones for me is our contracts that are out there. How long are they out there, and what is our long-term commitment once Pulte is gone? We're responsible for them. So we really need to understand the contracts. For me, maybe because I live on the far end, far east side, I need to understand that Highway 55 interchange and what is our commitment. I know Pulte has made a commitment. I think there's a bond and other things, but what is our responsibility? I think that could be a significant thing that we want to make sure we've got totally covered before we let Pulte walk away. And then the punch list items, I think that's been an ongoing issue. Those are the key things that I had.
Thank you. Elliot, looks like you're up.
I liked David's perspective on this being an acquisition. And in any acquisition, those of you who may have been involved with them in the private sector, you're involved in negotiations. I've spent a good portion of my career in labor negotiations. And I can tell you that it usually is adversarial, despite what we may think about it. We need to understand that and go into it clear-eyed. All the things that folks have said around the table in terms of information that we need, I fully agree with. I also think that we don't know what we don't know, and the importance of having outside advisors, whether it's outside legal counsel, financial advisors, safety experts, and also to understand what commitments Pulte has made to the town and the town has made to Pulte for the well-being of this development. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we covered everybody. Good. The next question has to do with community safety. Several members have expressed concerns about safety in the community and the manor. What ideas do you have for enhancing security measures and addressing these issues? We'll start with Nick Cerulli.
Okay, thank you. So I take safety concerns very seriously. When I first became a principal, I was warned, don't go in and make a lot of changes unless you have to. And one of the things I did notice was that the school wasn't safe because you could get into my school with any door because they were all unlocked throughout the day. So of course I did make a change there. So it's a serious thing. You got to look at data. So I think during that transition period, we're going to be looking at what our existing security measures are. Do we have any contracts for security? What are all of our incident reports? How have they been handled? What were the issues? Did Pulte set any kind of limitations? If we see something that we think might need to be changed, we have to make sure that the data that we're using is accurate, that whatever the change is going to be effective, and that it's got to be cost responsible. And then I'm thinking maybe like a layered security idea of, let's take a look at visibility. I know I've heard people talk about some of our streets are really dark and we need to get lighting in there. Camera coverage, what are the cameras for? What are they actually being used to do? Preventage, signage, basically, just warning people about, certain things throughout the community. And then communication. We need to educate the residents. How do you write up a report? Why are you writing up a report? And then tracking. What happens to that report once it's written? What kind of answers are you getting? What are the responses? Are we tracking patterns? And then trying to avoid repeats. And then follow-up communication, which I think has been a little on the poor side. Just getting back to somebody and letting them know whether you can deal with it now or not, you really need to get back to somebody and
10
say we're
seconds.
working on it. The manor, I think what we need to do is bring in management, residents, and then possibly, if we need to, local law enforcement. I'm not exactly sure what we're talking about with that. It could be the fact that you can just walk into the manor if somebody's using the restroom at the front desk and go anywhere you want, which means a stranger can do the same thing. So if that's what we're talking about, we have to figure out ways of maybe, locking that front door
Thanks,
so they
Nick.
get the buzz to get in.
Thank you. Thank you. Paul, your thoughts on community safety?
Yeah, I think trying to find the records of if people have gotten hurt, if people slipped, has there been any complaints about certain areas in the building? I've heard complaints about the dog park, so I don't think there was any incident, but I heard people talking about it's not lit and it's a little bit scary, but it's just gathering what's been going on, because I don't really know, but there has to be data on people getting hurt, because that's what any kind of car accidents that might have happened, those are the kind of things you have to look at.
Thank you, Paul. How about Kevin, your thoughts on community safety?
I suggest the HOA board approve the establishment of a safety and security committee at the board level. The committee would operate under authority delegated by the board. The committee will conduct a baseline assessment, identify actual risks from documented incident reports. The committee will evaluate and recommend ways to possibly improve lighting, control accesses, security cameras, work with local police if needed, and track effectiveness of current proposed security measures when appropriate and identified as an issue. The committee will evaluate the cost benefit before a capital investment is recommended to the board. The committee will meet quarterly or as directed by the board.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Doug Hayes, your thoughts on community safety?
I have to admit, this question really surprised me a little bit. I did not really understand that people had that concern, so I'm glad it got brought up. But you know, to your point, Nick, I think we really need to identify what are the risks. Look at the incident reports. We need to identify what the problem is and where, again, our risk areas are, so we can look at potential solutions. But some other things we can do, I know in the past we tried to get a neighborhood watch program going, and ran into some issues. That's something I think we should consider again. Security cameras at the amenity center, again, once we identify the problem, that could possibly be a solution. Someone had suggested a safety committee, wholeheartedly agree with that. And probably need to enhance our relationships with the first responder and the police departments. I think we do a pretty good job. There's probably more we can do in that regard.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Jack, how about you? Thoughts on community safety?
Thank you. Doug, thanks. I thought I was the only one. I confess this one took me back a little bit. Certainly in terms of we're talking about serious issues, maybe I'm just ignorantly blessed, but I wasn't aware there were serious issues. But if that is the case, it's important to receive the feedback necessary to make sure steps are taken to ensure these risks are kept to a minimum. I guess the best way to do that would be to take advantage of our relationship with the Dequay Arena Police Department and consult with safety experts to help guide us, or the board at least, in making prudent decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Gary, let's hear your thoughts on community safety.
I have to admit, I too did not think that safety in the community was a big concern. I haven't heard anything. I don't get out much. I know that we've had a neighborhood watch started in the past, and we should start that up again in earnest. We've met with the Fuquay Arena Police Department way back when we were all gathered in the Oasis. And they gave us some good pointers, and I think they are more than willing to come back to us and help us set up a viable safety program. I think we have to, cameras are great. Everybody's got a camera somewhere. We all know that. I think we need to look out for each other. I don't want to be spying on somebody, but it's cliche, but if you see something, say something. I am most concerned about what's going to happen when 55 connects through Del Webb Garden, and I think speeding and especially cutting through town, cutting the corner off town by using that exchange is going to bring a lot of problems for us. So I think we have to be very careful about how we address that.
10 seconds. Done? Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Stu, let's hear your thoughts on community safety.
All right, I'm very similar where that one caught me off guard. Fairly new resident, obviously, so I haven't been around to hear a lot. The only thing I had heard about, and that's because my wife's a swimmer, is the bathrooms are very slippery if they come out of the swimming pool. So I thought, well, that can't be the only issue. There must be more. But my first thought was, this is probably an ongoing thing that probably warrants a safety committee. That would be a permanent committee that would be constantly looking at these issues. The only thing I've ever been concerned about is what I'll call Del Webb Garden Speedway, when the Amazon delivery guys are just tearing down the road. So there are some things that I think need to be addressed, but I'm not sure the depth of the issue, so I think we need to get the feedback and the input so that we understand where the concerns are, and then get the community involved in helping us to decide where we focus our efforts.
Thanks, Stu. Steve Williams, how about your thoughts?
Okay. Definitely go along with the safety committee. I think that would be hugely beneficial. I also think our front doors, when they were installed, they were actually installed to have badge readers, and Pulte didn't pay for them. So that would be a good start to get into the front doors. You have to have a badge. I think we should have emergency stations and buttons that dial 911. Carolina Arbors has 20 of them in their clubhouse. I don't think we have any. We have an AED or two. They have 7. They're all through the community. So something's lacking there for sure. I'd like to see more speed signs, especially as Del Webb opens up on both sides. I'd also like to see our Ring doorbells working. I think half of them don't work or don't work properly. And, you know, that would show us a lot. I know we had an instance recently with people ringing a doorbell and leaving. If our doorbells were working properly, that we might be able to fix that. My son's a cop. My daughter-in-law is a cop. I think we should improve relations there. Coffee with a cop on Saturday morning is great, but I think we need some more educational meetings with them and build a relationship where they're driving through the community a little bit more. Let's see, neighborhood watch for sure would be huge. One thing I'd like to have for sure is you cannot see our street numbers. Can I finish the thought?
Finish the thought.
Okay. You have an emergency vehicle coming to your house, it's hidden by an arborvitae or some other tree. I would like, thank you. I would like to see those numbers either moved to a visible location or a stencil put on the curb that's easy for the rescue squad to find.
That's a good thought. David Ongaro, why don't you pick up the mic?
I don't know how I come back after this. I mean, these are some really good causes. So I just want a lot of good thoughts here. So Stu, I got some thoughts about the Amazon drivers. We could all stop ordering from there. And Steve, the call boxes, we should have a bunch of those blue lights for security. But really, these safety concerns, we need to immediately address them, right? They need attention, they need quick attention, and they need ongoing attention. I think we need to listen to the members, right? I think a number of people are surprised about some of these, about this question on here. I feel safe, but I know that everybody doesn't feel the same as I do. So I think we have to listen to members and learn what they're experiencing. Is it kind of traffic safety or inadequate lighting that someone said? Are there real security concerns at the manor that I'm not aware about? Or are there some other issues in the community? I know firsthand there's a problem with the crosswalk across Purfoy. This is an example that we just have to address any way we can and proactively. I know this is going to be hard. A lot of these are going to be hard, but we need to address them quick. We do need a full safety audit, I think, of the community. We could rely on the police, first responders, or we could hire an outside firm to help us with an audit. And we need to understand what we're looking at so that we can really address the problems.
Oh,
thanks.
Time. Thank you, Dave. Mark Wilson, how about your thoughts?
I gotta be honest, I don't even lock my front door anymore, so I feel you can have anything I have in there, it's fine, except my bicycle. So I guess I'm coming at it maybe from a perspective that we live in a very safe community. That doesn't mean we don't want to address it. I go back to our relationship with the Fuquay Marina town and building a relationship. I think the first responders and the police, we definitely need to feel comfortable they're going to respond quickly when we need them. That's probably the number one. I like the idea of maybe making some of these stencils. I mean, I think we've got a lot of good ideas, but I think from the HOA board perspective, I don't know we need to put together a full audit, but I think we need to be able to be receptive to understanding what some of the safety issues are and be able to address them.
Thank you, Mark. Michelle, how about your thoughts on that?
Well, I see the ambulances come in regularly, and that's a concern for me, especially when I believe Steve brought it up, the ridiculous plantings in front of the house numbers. And please don't repeat this, although I'm being taped. If you choose to remove that, go for it. I have thought from the very beginning it was a complete travesty to safety. I've seen ambulances come in and have to slow down to try to find a house. I do believe, on a more serious note, we need to develop an ongoing dialogue with all first responders. Ongoing, not just have them come speak with us once. We need to have, I would say, someone assigned to email with them monthly. We can't just look what's going on in our community. We have to look what's outside of our community that could come into our community. So it's not just about what we deal with. I question whether we need to have some type of contracted security vendor on site to give us better understanding of the problems that we do face, because again, not all of us thought that that was so much of an issue. I believe an ongoing email, in addition to the Neighborhood Watch, where safety tips, scam alerts, local contact information is provided on a regular basis to everyone.
10
Encouraging
seconds.
resident reporting of light outages, roadways, greenways, solicitors, crimes. All those are important, and I do appreciate the dialogue that goes on for a non-emergent issue online.
Thank you, Michelle. Elliot, looks like you're going to wrap it up for us on this question.
Thanks, Bill. I'd like to echo just about everything everyone has said. I just think that the context, and this goes without saying, is that we are a senior community. And some of us either have mobility issues or will have mobility issues, just the nature of aging. And I think it's important that we do a risk assessment, engage a safety expert specializing in communities and the risks that people of our age cohort might experience. Now, those security and safety risks, I think, are in three major buckets. There's obviously our physical infrastructure, the building, the pool, the pickleball courts, the bocce courts, and yes, Jack, I hope we get a second bocce court as well. So there's that. I did request and was turned down the idea of putting badges to get into the building so that the first line of defense is not the receptionist. So that's just not fair to them as employees and creates a whole bunch of risk. There's risk associated with infrastructure that's not ours, sidewalks. We have sidewalks that have been damaged through construction that are trip and fall hazards that somebody is going to get hurt on. And I brought that to the attention of the town, and supposedly they brought it to the attention of Pulte. Lastly is the security that we've talked about in terms of police, fire, and EMS, and the points
10
that were made
seconds.
in terms of being able to identify addresses. I think that's really critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we have finished that question, and we're going to move on to a very interesting question on the investment of HOA funds, if anyone's interested in that. Would you support requiring Associa or any management company to invest HOA funds in local financial institutions rather than out-of-state options, such as California banks? Why or why not? Doug Hayes, we'll start with you.
As long as we can get equal or better terms, I see absolutely no reason why we shouldn't do that. There could be some other incentives associated with that, and I lean on my banker friends. They can perhaps work on sponsorship of some of our events. There may be other more favorable considerations that could be provided. Again, I'm not a banking guy, so I don't understand what the rules and regulations are, but I absolutely support it. I see no reason not to.
Okay, thank you. We'll Well, Gary, let's hear your thoughts on that one.
No, I ditto everything that Doug said. I mean, it's nice to be able to put have a face-to-face transaction, a face-to-face conversation with somebody. But if they're giving me 2% lower than somebody in California is giving me, no, I won't do it. So yes, if we can get the same service, if we can get the same rate of return, no if we can't.
Okay, thank you. Paul, let's bring you up. Investment of HOA funds. Would you support requiring Associa or other management company to invest funds in local financial institutions rather than out-of-state options such as California banks? Why or why not?
All the banks are national, all the investment companies are kind of national. I'm more concerned about the word investment and what that means. And we were, in Long Island, we argued about that because everybody wanted to make more money on the investment, but obviously the more money you make, the more risk, and we had to be careful with the owner's funds, so we kept it really, really, really conservative.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Stu, your thoughts on investment of HOA funds?
All right, your local credit union guy here. I obviously would very much support supporting local financial institutions, whether it's a credit union, community bank. The only caveat I would say is when we work with an outside organization that's paying our bills and receiving our money, they have to be able to access it. So Associa or whoever, if they had to come and try to open a bank account at a local institution and they're the ones managing our money, it could be very, very difficult. So again, I think we would have to look at the economics and the convenience and how we would make that work.
Okay, thank you. David Ungaro, how about your thoughts?
Okay, so I did not run a credit union or a bank, but I do have some thoughts on this one. I know this was actually bantered around a lot last year and the year before. So I would not support requiring a local-only choice. I think the important thing is that we're following our fiduciary duty, right? So competitive rates, risk protection, accessibility, liquidity, and institutional strength, not geography, is important to me. If we can get that locally, I think it's great because I want to support North Carolina as anyone. But we have a fiducial responsibility to the members, and that comes first over geography. We need to be very understanding of who manages the money, how it's being managed. Are there kind of rules or policies in how the money is being moved around and how much is on hand versus in short-term, long-term type investments? So for me, I didn't really resonate with the question because it's not a geography question for me. It's, are we managing the money of the members appropriately?
Thank you, David. Mark Wilson, let's hear from you.
A lot of what you said was accurate. I think the Finance Committee that we've been working on have been looking at this quite a bit, and it's I think somewhat related to the kinds of accounts, how often we need the money. There are some advantages with Associa with their relationship with some of the banks. But in terms of long-term investments in CDs and things, I think we need to look at all the aspects that you've described and look at them. I don't think we need to commit to the one or the other. I think we just need to evaluate what's best for the community.
Okay, thank you. Jack, how about taking that question? Investment in HOA funds.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, putting on my Finance Committee hat, I have to point out, we already have a local bank called Truist. It handles our lifestyle checking account as well as 5 clubs, Garden, Wine, Pickleball, Cafe, and Bocce. They don't charge us any fees for these accounts. Management believes the large bank provides a lot more security and flexibility than a smaller independent bank. I'm sure you've all heard of the too big to fail situation, which has happened. They don't let big banks fail. Additionally, the large banks Associate uses, and this is important, I think, for people to understand, they can seamlessly download the transactions into their accounts payable software with no manual entries. Our monthly general ledger contains several thousand transactions, so there could be a concern, obviously, that a local independent bank would lack that ability.
Thank you, Jack. Michelle, let's hear from you.
I, like David, do not believe it should be a requirement. I believe if a local financial institution can offer us better terms, but most importantly, can service us better than an out-of-state bank, then I would fully support that.
Okay. Thank you. Steve, your thoughts?
I think that we should support local businesses, and it's important, but the priority needs to be what's best for the community. So the institution with the highest return and the availability of our funds should get our business. Transparency in decision-making is important. Associates should not use associate-related vendors unless it's what's best for the community. Our funds have to be accessible, and we have to be with a stable institution. Our financial consultants should be independent of Associa, and they should only have our community's best interest in mind.
Thank you, Steve. Nick, your thoughts?
So I'm going to agree with Dave. I also don't agree with supporting the requiring. I do believe that we need, you want to have clear board-approved investment policy that defines risk tolerance, liquidity needs, and reporting requirements. So I think, because it really comes down to allowing the board to choose the best options for protecting our funds, the homeowner funds. But I don't think just because it's a local bank, that should be the priority. It's the safety, liquidity, transparency, and compliance that really should rule. And then whether or not we're getting that competitive rate, fine, we go local. But if we can get a better competitive rate, then we don't. But it's basically investing our funds, so we have to do what's best for us.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Finally, Kevin.
Being in banking, local community banks for over 40 years, I can tell you that I'd encourage it. I wouldn't require it, but I think I would encourage it in the standpoint of the way that most of the people are getting mortgages, loans these days. That's from local community banks. I mean, if you look at a balance sheet of a community bank, you can see it's probably 80% of the money that's being lent out is to the community through mortgages, home equities, etc. The large international banks, which I won't name at this time, they will lend you money, but they're not as aggressive as the local community banks are.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are moving right along here. That was everybody. Elliot. Oh, I put a little mark next to your name and then didn't call it. You're up, Elliot.
Some of you may know that I established the investment club here at Carolina Gardens, so this is a question that's a bit close to my heart. I agree that all of our funds, we do have a fiduciary responsibility, that we should have a policy with regard to how our funds get invested, that the funds should be invested with the most financially stable institutions, whether they are local or otherwise. And I use the words financially stable institutions. I've heard the word banks, but I've been in organizations, nonprofit organizations, where sometimes you get better rates on CDs working through a Merrill Lynch or a Fidelity or one of the other big brokerage firms. So I think we need to throw a net a little wider than just the proverbial bank. The other thing to consider in this is cash flow. Depending upon the maturity dates of various CDs and so forth, we need to make sure that they're coincident with the cash flow needs of the organization. And so we need a cash flow plan as well to support how those funds are invested. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. Huh? Down to 1 minute time is all they get? Oh, boy, he's tough. All right, you heard him, man. Vendor accountability. Do you believe the board should play an active role in vetting and reviewing the performance of Associa and their on-site personnel? How would you handle a situation where the management company isn't meeting community standards? Well, Mark, we're going to start with you.
So I would say that, you know, we've been, as a finance committee, working with the Associa Group, and I appreciate a lot of what they do. I think my background as general manager and executive director for a retirement community, having managed a lot of the staff similar to what we have here, gives me appreciation for what they do. And so I guess I'm coming at it from the standpoint that I think we have to give them a lot of credit for the outstanding work that a lot of them have done. It's not like they aren't doing, they can't improve, and I think that there's certainly, we need to be looking at options if necessary. So I think in general, I think if we continue to monitor what's going on and keep a good relationship with whatever management company that we work with, I think that's the role of the board.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Paul, since we're down there, let's hear from you.
I haven't had any problems with them at all, but I think that just bringing them into the fold, treating them like, you know, an employer or an employee or one of us, and try to invite them to the board meetings. If we have problems with something that they should be involved with, we communicate it with them, that's all.
Okay, thanks. Nick, your thoughts?
So this is where being a principal, you know, changes everything, because in a school, performance is you know, it's the top thing. So for me, yes, although associate personnel are handling daily operations, the board still remains accountable to homeowners, so it's our job to make sure that they're doing their job. So I'm looking at clear contracts and expectations, everything in writing, performance standards in writing with measurable benchmarks. And then regular evaluations, just like in a classroom. We went in and observed teachers. We're going to observe people, make sure things are going right, address any issues. I'm big with providing direct, documented feedback, and if we have to, an improvement plan. The goal is not to get rid of somebody, the goal is to make them better. So we want to do whatever we can to make them better, giving them an improvement timeline, and as much help as possible. And
10 seconds.
When that time, if there aren't changes, then you have to do what you have to do. Because remember, we have to do whatever we do to protect homeowners and to protect service quality. So it's important that we are doing this.
Thanks, Nick. Jack?
Thanks. Since the management company reports directly to the board, it's definitely the board's responsibility to monitor and be responsible for the actions of the management company. The board, either themselves or by way of committees, can assign routine auditing processes for vendors, contracts, financial reporting, et cetera. If the board does a good job of monitoring and guiding the management company, it will provide the continuity necessary during our transition period, which is critical.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Kevin, you're up.
I believe the HOA board should have an active and structured role in vetting and reviewing the performance of the associate personnel. This is both a governance and fiduciary responsibility. However, the board's role should be for oversight only, not operational functions. Failure for reasonable oversight of associate management can expose the board to claims of breach of fiduciary responsibility.
Thanks, Kevin. Elliot, I'm not going to forget you this time. You're up.
Thanks, Bill. As somebody who spent a good part of my career in consulting in human resources, pardon me, I have to echo what Nick said in terms of the classroom, and I've done much of my work in government. It is important that all on-site personnel have annual goals set, that those goals are set consistent with the overall annual objectives of the board in terms of programmatic or performance or improvement or new services, that there be a semi-annual review process, that there be an opportunity to improve performance where the associate or the management company is not carrying the weight that we think they should be
10
carrying.
seconds.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you. Steve Williams.
Thank you. Of course, the board should be directly involved in vendor performance. I don't think that we should go into this transition with any preconceived notions. I've seen too many times when underperformers begin to excel with a change in leadership. I think that we have to be open about what our expectations are, and then we have to have performance evaluations, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, whatever's fair, and then we need to communicate where we stand at that point. If there's no change to our satisfaction, then the board needs to decide on what action it's going to take.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Michelle Bamba.
Yes, I fully support that the board oversees this part. I think one of the issues, and Elliot, you spoke to that, I come from a government background as well, and my exact quotes were quarterly and annual performance reviews, performance improvement plans for 90 days with measurable results if there is an issue. All matters should be documented in writing. Monthly HOA board agenda item that should be discussed at every board meeting if we're seeing staff issues or management company issues before it exceeds to a spot that we cannot pull it back.
Thank you, Michelle. Gary Hunt, you're up.
I think I copied everything off of Elliot's sheet. Honestly, any management company we choose is, of course, responsible and answerable to the board and to the community. We need twice yearly performance reviews, just as you would an employee. If there are deficiencies, we need to develop action plans with timelines to resolve those, and we need to come up with metrics so we know how to measure the resolution of any problem. We have to understand and monitor the improvements over time to see if there's any additional action, either with that management company or take some other action.
10 seconds.
The board, we had to record instances. Wait, I don't want to do that. Be careful. Changing boards is a daunting task. It's better to fix what you got than go find something else.
Thank you. Stu, haven't heard from you yet.
All right. In my opinion, probably our management company is the most important vendor relationship we have. And so I think it is critical that the board is involved with that. And any contract we have with a management company should have clear expectations and a clear method of communicating those expectations. We do have to remember that the staff are not our employees. They are employees of the management company. And so we have to work through them if we have particular issues with a person. Our relationship is with the company, and so that's where it's key that we set some standards from the beginning, and we have a clear method of communicating standards that are not being met, and have a clear understanding of what their procedures are to address that.
Thank you, Stu. Well, Doug Hayes, your thoughts.
Thanks, Bill. I looked at this question not as a personal indictment of anything that's currently going on, but the board does have that responsibility. Everybody has clearly discussed that and brought out the points. I'll just hit them again. The board needs to ensure that performance standards are in place, that they're clear, that the folks understand those, and that they're evaluated against those standards. I think the reality of it is it's going to be a change in reporting structures at some point. So there's going to be there needs to be an adaptation period. That doesn't mean people get a free card, but we've got to give people a chance to adjust. And if after time a performance improvement plan is put in place and standards are still not met, like in any organization, people are always subject to replacement.
Thank you, Doug. And now, David Ongaro for the final
I get to end the night and everyone can go home. Okay, so I agree with many people said. Absolutely, we should actively oversee the services we contract for, including Associa. They do work for us. We do need to do reviews of service with metrics so that we can clearly measure what the performance is. If we're not getting the standard that we should document deficiencies with data. We should meet with the management and discuss the concerns. And we should verify the changes are implemented. And fourth, I think this is really important. I've been doing this for 30 years. We should celebrate wins. We should be happy when we have successful, good wins.
10 seconds.
That's everything. Everyone have a great night. Bill, good job. And I didn't know Michelle Obama was here.
Wow. Well, that about wraps up our questions for the night, right on time. I say we just elect all of them. They're all too good. I also want to say, any that may not be elected, please volunteer for committees and for the next round of elections, because any or all of y'all would just be perfect. So don't back away. We need you. Okay, please remember that you can still review each candidate's self-nomination questions and answers online, and you'll be able to watch the recording of this meeting via the link provided by the HOA. Voting starts on January 30th and will end on February 9th, with results announced on February 11th. Remember, each lot will vote for up to 5 individuals only. All voting will be done online. Written ballots cannot be accepted. If you're unable to vote online, please come to the manor and one of the staff at the front desk will help you cast your vote electronically. Please keep in mind there is 1 vote per lot allowed per candidate, not 1 vote per person in the household. You may vote for each candidate only once, and you may vote for up to 5 candidates only. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about voting. Use the community bulletin board on the forum to post any voting-related questions. On behalf of Carolina Gardens community, we want to thank the candidates for their willingness to run for election. Thank you. Thank you. And thank everyone who came here tonight and for participating in this very important process. For the initial board of directors, I bid you good night.